Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to All Wheel Drive. Got another bike review for you. This bike belongs to a really good friend of mine, Zach. Zach rides with me on several occasions, just getting out and hitting some twisties. We'll be doing some, probably some fire road stuff here in the near future, but this is a bike he's had for the last few years, and he's actually getting rid of it. So if you're interested in this bike, after you watch the video, send a note, let me know, and I can maybe put a good word in. But without further ado, this is a 2012, 2013 generation of the 650 Parallel Twin Ninja. And typically these bikes are for the commuter nature. It's a lot more comfortable than what you'd find in a regular Ninja. But this year they did up the styling a little bit. One of the things I didn't like about some of the economy Ninjas were they look like economy Ninjas, meaning they didn't have the same sort of presence as the real sport bikes. The front of this one, as you can see, back in that time, that was kind of the direction they were going from a styling cue, so they did bring that over into this bike, which I was glad to see. It does have a little bit of a presence from a styling standpoint. I do like the styling. I think the worst part is probably this section, because it just kind of snubs off at the back, not nearly as neat as a ZX6 36, but for the most part, it's a pretty solid bike. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure I did when I rode the bike was ensure that I'm being fair with it, because as we know, these parallel twin motorcycles typically don't have the performance or the dynamics that we're looking for from a true sport bike. This is not necessarily a true sport bike. It's more of a sport commuter. Let's just call it that. And the reason that I say that is because the handling is adequate, the power is adequate, but the comfort is sublime. This is probably one of the most comfortable bikes I've ridden in a sports setup. The comfort of it is really good. It's got handlebars rather than clip-ons. And that really helps because you've got a raised bar situation, kind of like what you get on enduro or dirt bike. So that helps contribute to it being a very comfortable bike. The ergos are really good. There's not a lot really going on with it. It doesn't have a lot of high tech. I do like that it has the twin disc up front, so it ensures that the bike is going to stop. So if you decide that you are going to push your bike, there's adequate braking capability there. I think the biggest surprise to me on this bike, and this is one that I can see how this could be a really good prospect for someone getting into motorcycling. If you want to, be on a sportier bike, but you don't want to commit to a full-on super sport like the current super sports, even the Panigale V2s, the R9, 636 ZX6, GSX R600, any of those bikes, R6, are very committed. They're essentially race bikes for the street, and they're great if that's what you're after. But if you want something a little more pedestrian, if you want something you can ease into, these kinds of bikes are actually really good. I was very impressed with the power delivery. Now, with it being a parallel twin, the linearity of it is a little bit lower in terms of your output, so you don't get a ton of horsepower. But the way that it delivers the power off throttle, from zero, the bike has really good low-end pickup. It takes off really well. I was actually able to get it to wheelie a couple of times. It won't do it so much with the way the clutch is set up. I think that's just a setup thing. But my point is that it delivers enough performance that you can grow into it. And then when you think that you've gotten really adapt to, what the bike is and what it delivers, you can continue to grow into it, because you can then start to learn how to improve your riding and cultivate your skill set for riding aggressively. One of the things I was thinking about as I was riding is that if you were to take these handlebars off and go with a clip-on, you could probably go with something like what you get on the outgoing VFRs from Honda, even the CBR 650 from Honda, where they have those raised type of clip-ons. They're not the race type, but they can go right under the triple tree, and you still get a fairly good raise on it. But you can also adjust them a little bit more for a more dynamic handling. You could probably just adjust these forks to give you enough of what you want. I mean, I don't think you'd have to go too far into it or too hardcore, but at the same time, you do want to change it so the dynamic is such that you can get a better handling characteristic out of it. And the same with the rear. Now this isn't your traditional setup for a rear, but you can make that work. I mean, this class, if you think about some of the junior cup out there, they're using, I think, the 3 and 400s. So similar chassis setup, similar, you know, low budget build setup, but you can turn this into a really good canyon carver if that's what you're after. I think it would be good to learn how to handle better, you know, doing corners, lean angles, maybe practice wheeling if that's something you want to do. This is a good bike that won't push you so far to your limits that you're going to be scared that you're going to overcook it, be it cornering or wheeling or speed. Once you're up in the power band, though, it kind of flattens out about 8. So it redlines at, according to this, it redlines at 11, which is, you know, it's a nice gesture. But I think once you hit 8,000 RPM, you've kind of tapped out. It's just kind of just spinning RPMs at that point, and you're not really getting more power out of it. You just shift in that low mid-range, early mid-range, I'll call it. So it's not total mid-range, but right as you get to the beginning of your mid-range, it's got a real steady punch. And I think it will deliver a pretty satisfactory ride for most people that are going to buy this particular bike. I could see me owning this bike in terms of something I take to a track where I just want to not go too hard, not try to beat anybody, not try to kill lap times, but just want to have a good time and push a bike that I know won't bite me in the ass because I've done it, you know, done too much in any given situation. This will be good. Remember the video I did a while back on the RS 660 from Aprilia? I talked about how it was very dynamic and it had some real chops in terms of, you know, performance. So I kind of like what that bike brought to the table because it wasn't your typical weak parallel twin offering. They made it a little bit more aggressive with the timing, the tuning, the sound of it was really good. This bike sounds like a lawnmower. And I think once you get past that, you can enjoy what it really is and what it can actually do. Because it can be a really fun bike to ride. I had a good time on it. I rode it for about an hour and a half. Took it through some twisties. It's got good balance. It's a very narrow bike. Having a parallel twin means that engine's a little, you know, narrower than the inline. Similar to what a V-twin would be, but it's a very narrow bike and it's a small bike. So for my stature, it's probably not a good fit because it just looks like I'm way too big for it. The other thing, like I said, the tail section, I don't like how the tail just cuts off. It feels like it didn't get finished. They started with this real nice projectile front, and in the back they just said, we're done, no more money, no more material. But again, like I said, you can do some things to this bike to make it fun, and this is what you bought, or you're looking at something like a 650 Honda. You know, you've got the R7 out there. You've got a lot of different bikes that kind of fit in this category or a little bit higher up on that category. So the R7 is a different animal than this because it's a little bit more focused. But the new Ninja 600s or 650, they're a little bit more designed to be in comparison or competition with that RS and like that R7. So you have some options out there, but if you're looking at a bike that's older, you're looking at something that's simpler, something to get you into biking that you can grow into, and then, like I said, you can continue to cultivate your skill set by turning it into something a little bit more aggressive and learning how to ride aggressively without using too much power. Power isn't necessarily a definition of performance or sport riding. It's how you handle the bike in the situations you're going to ride it in, and can the bike deliver on what you want from it. And I think you can get that with something like this, and it's just a matter of managing expectations. But all in all, I think it's a good bike. I actually enjoyed riding it. I really, really enjoyed it, and I am not sore at all. My back doesn't hurt, my wrists don't hurt. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good bike to start out on and figure out what you want to do with your riding after that. So good on you. Like I said, it's for sale. Don't know the numbers yet, but if it's something you think you'd be interested in, let me know. It's got a little over 12,333 miles. So not a lot of miles, but one thing I would do is put a gear indicator on here because I think with these engines, you typically don't know where you are in the power band. So it's kind of a benefit to know what gear you're in so you can manage that delivery, because you know your torque's going to live in your lower gears on this bike. And the more RPMs, if you're around 4,000 to 6,000 RPM, that's technically the sweet spot, is from what I could gather. You get a lot of push from a power bump there. and it just holds a little steady. I think over here, this is where your neutral is. Blinkers are up here. I think they probably could have benefited from making this your speedo. One of the things I noticed as I was riding is that the way the sun would hit caused this area to be more reflective of my chest. So I had to move my head to see how fast I was going. So that probably would have been a better design. But you could put your gear indicator somewhere around here. Kind of like what I did on my RC51. I bought one from Amazon. I think it was like $7. And you just wire it in. There's a connection that it goes into, and you can just stick it there so you can know what gear you're in. But a pretty simple layout, very clean. Not a lot going on. Enough information. You got your clock, got your fuel. Knowing where you are on fuel is always important. But yeah, all your essential stuff is there, and it will get the job done. Again, it's a pretty good bike. If you've got a low budget and you want to get into biking, this is not a bad way to go. You do have a lot of options, like I said, but just assessing what this Kawasaki is, because it's been accessible for me, because it's my friends, it didn't disappoint. So, all right, that's it, guys. Have fun, be safe. Until next time.